So let me explain a few different scenarios of the tactics of the U.S. military utilizing these radio frequency weapons against you. Scenario 1. So I woke up one morning with a large network of implants connected to my sinus and the front of my face and forehead. So I immediately began to rip it all out. And when the agent realized that I was about to remove the implant he had linked to me, he must have turned off his machine and ran away. Because one moment there was this giant network of implants that I was dealing with, and the next, it completely vanished. So it was bizarre that it was there one moment and gone the next. Because it was an implant that was mainly in him, that he had let build up for however long, and then he had linked himself to me. And when I began to remove the implant, he turned off his machine to kill the connection and ran away to keep his implant. Because this is how he could traumatize and control people, by linking himself to them and then torturing or scaring them until they do what he wants. Scenario number 2 is agents playing past the implant. Another scenario was that I was trying to remove an implant that had been linked to me around my chest, and it was frozen. So the agent was reversing the power onto himself. So I pressed on the implant and tried to rip it out, and suddenly it seemed to give way. It turned into a stream of plasma energy that instantly went up and connected to another frozen implant that was in my cerebellum area. So it was as if I had no control over this. And when I went to grab hold of where it went in my cerebellum, it also became frozen and unmovable again. So what the military did was connect an agent to me with a chest implant, and he had it frozen by reversing the energy onto himself. But when he sensed me applying pressure to the implant, he then pointed the energy stream at another agent who had an implant in the cerebellum. So the plasma that was built up in the first agent's chest was then directed at his fellow agent, and it went straight into an implant in the other agent's brain. And that agent also quickly reversed the power onto himself to freeze the implant in his brain. And since we're all linked together, I could sense all this happening. So I believe that they had been using 3 energy rays all at once to do this. Agent 1 had a ray, Agent 2 had a ray, and then there was an energy field connecting all of us together. So this is a tactic that they have begun to use, which is using many agents, each with their own rays, who would take turns reversing the energy onto themselves or pointing the machines at each other. So you will feel plasma suddenly shoot across your body, crisscrossing to other implants that you have no control over, because they are not really in you. Scenario number 3 is called directed energy streams. Another tactic of the military is to hit you with what feels like giant streams of energy. And I believe that these energy streams that have the most mass is when they connect an obese military agent to you and direct all the plasma that is built up in their bodies toward you. And this is another disgusting practice of the Vatican and the U.S. military, which is to encourage severe weight gain in a great deal of their agents. And they do this because fat people are known to be able to well up with the most plasma energy that is then projected onto their targets through these radio frequency weapons. And this, of course, places their targets into great shock. These large streams of energy may be a little bit unsettling at first, but like I said, a great deal of this energy will just move right through you, as long as you follow the guidelines in this report. However, they will often use these energy streams to their advantage. If you are removing an implant that is formed around your heart, for example, and you start to get some of it out, the military may try to put a stop to it by flooding you with plasma, by connecting a fat agent to you, or several fat agents to you. Then a huge amount of plasma that is stored up in these individuals will be directed into you. And sometimes it can almost push you away from existing implants. Anyway, it becomes a challenge to isolate an implant and put weight on it when you have a sudden rush of plasma go through your body. So they used this tactic on me several times to protect a bad implant that was being formed in my chest. Whenever I attempted to remove it, they would soon catch on, and I'll experience a huge rush of plasma energy. So I realized that the point is not worrying about the incoming energy stream, but to worry on removing implants that have begun to form in your body. So these large streams of energy hit you throughout the day, but your concern should be removing the plasma buildups and implants in your body. Scenario number 4 is called attacks with large streams of energy in combination with frozen implants. So let's talk about the radio frequency hits or attacks. And what I've found is that they will connect some agents to you and then blast you with a large stream of energy and then reverse the energy onto themselves. So as you are using the U-breath to pull the plasma energy up, it will seem to catch on to this pegboard of implants throughout your body. And this, of course, are the wonderful U.S. military agents who are connected to you. So in my case, the incoming energy was getting hung up on my shoulders a lot. So I'd really have to breathe deep and lift from my shoulders continuously, or else the energy will start to build up there and more pain would occur. The energy was also getting hung up on an implant around my left shoulder and heart. So I'd have to press down on the implants in there and lift from that area. And also the energy was getting caught around my sinus and forehead area. So I'd have to press down on the implants in there and lift from my sinus and forehead area. So it was like a pegboard of implants that the energy would all get caught on all at once. And then the military would direct a large surge of energy at you, and this will begin to hurt, while implants in your sinus, neck, and respiratory system will also be activated to make breathing difficult. So this is a tactic that they have begun to use, which is using many agents, each with their own rays, who will take turns reversing the energy onto themselves and then blast you with a large stream of energy. So these hits will range from mild to extreme. Sometimes you'll get a little hit that won't last more than a couple of minutes, and then other times it will be more severe, and that will be due to the implants that you have allowed to be built up in your body. So if you are out in public, you must breathe deeply, taking full breaths of air, inhaling all the way in through your nose, and then using the U-breath to lift from the most painful areas. These implants will ache, they will pulsate, and they will heat up. And if you lose your cool, it will get a lot worse. So you need to remain calm, to breathe deeply, and lift the plasma out the best you can until the attack is over. And the worst of this lasts, usually anywhere from around 15 minutes to about a half hour. When you get the worst of the plasma out, the pain will subside, especially if you stay in control. But you still have these implants in you that will cause these problems for you. So when you get home, you will need to apply pressure to your vital areas, as outlined in this report, to remove the buildups and implants. And you must do this every day. And if you do this every day, their attacks will not be as common nor severe. Because as you remove implants from yourself, you are also removing mutual implants from the agents around you. So you are taking away the power they have to attack people with. And that is very important. So if you are at home and the severe pain starts and you are able to meditate, I would suggest that you do meditate at that point to put pressure on these implants to remove them. Scenario number 5 is called projecting hate and emotions. A big part of the programming through these radio frequency machines has to do with linking agents to you and then them projecting their hate and emotions onto you. So one day I was on the phone with a friend and we got into a minor disagreement about something that didn't really bother me. But even so, I still felt this foreign anger welling up inside of me to the point that I could sense this energy shaking with rage. And the funny thing was that I wasn't even mad. And it was then that I realized that the anger was not coming from me, but from an agent who had linked themselves to me. And this is a big tactic of the military. And they use this in mind control. And they will do this in every venue across the board. And they will do this to encourage arguments and fights between people. So it is very important to recognize when this is happening so that you remain calm and things do not spiral out of your control. So you will need to be the person who remains calm, even though your friends or co-workers may start acting irrational or stupid. Because if you do not remain in control, the military will take over that control. And this is why I always say, try to ignore these agents in public, even though their presence may trigger anger in you. And this is one of the ways they do it. They'll get an agent to walk up to you and act childish. And in a normal state of mind, you will not even pay attention to this. However, When you are placed in an agitated state due to these radio frequency energy fields, these idiots will stand out as being irrational and very annoying. So you will feel like striking back at them in some way. And your agitated state will be amplified by these agents linked to you, who will use these radio frequency connections to infect you with their rage and also trigger you to snap on these people or cause a problem in your home or workplace. So you must always stay calm, no matter how hard it gets. And eventually, you will get to the point where the anger will feel like energy. And you will be able to sense that it is not your own anger. So it is almost like power. And by keeping it in check, will fill you with energy. However, the military can also link people to you who are depressed or lethargic. And this could be a challenge to some when a big work project is due and suddenly you become extremely tired or depressed. And again, they can induce these states by linking people with these emotional problems to you. So when this happens, you must find the willpower to exert yourself. You must find the internal drive to push yourself, even though you may lack effort. And this is very common in mind control. And people will be induced into a lethargic state at important times throughout their life, when they must be self-motivated to stand out as a leader, get jobs finished, or contact family members and friends. And if you cannot find the drive to do this, others will take over. Projects will go uncompleted, and you will lose touch with friends and family members. And honestly, this is how society is taken over by these military dirtbags who step up to assume control of all local government, local businesses, and people become very isolated from one another. So all types of emotions can be transferred to the radio frequency link. So you must strive to keep yourself balanced and focused on what is important and not guided strictly by your emotions or prone to exaggerated emotions without reason, like feeling extremely happy around a stranger or getting too emotional about random thoughts. And the last thing I will mention in this section is that agents can induce nervousness in public. And this is done through an implant on your sinus area. So they will connect an agent to you with the sinus implant and then reverse the energy onto the agent. So the sinus implant feels rigid and unmovable. Then due to this pressure, you will subconsciously begin to take shallow breaths. So people either get nervous or they try to overcompensate their nervous emotions with anger. So either way, it's not good. And the best way to deal with this is to breathe deep, even though that you are feeling pressure on your sinus area. And then lift from your sinus area with the U breath as you exhale up, focusing on your crown chakra point. So always focus on breathing correctly and filling your lungs with air. They will also implant you around your jaw and the base of your skull, and then reverse the energy onto themselves to make it uncomfortable for you to pull up using the U breath. So even though they can make it uncomfortable, you must always focus on maintaining the U breath throughout the day. And always focus on breathing deep and never let them stop you, even if they begin to apply pressure to your sinus area through an implant.